Hey guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get into some shading of the shapes that we've created. We've created these three-dimensional shapes. Let's do some shading on them. So let's go to the document camera and going to make it a full screen. So I've already done some of the shading you can see on the nut that we drew together, but let's look at and think about how we would shade this cylinder. So gonna start again. I'm imagining this. Ideally, for some of you, and I might ask you to do this, you would get something that was, like cylindrical in shape. It could be the lid of a bottle or something that you've got laying around, and you would kind of set it up somewhere so that you could actually look at it. You can see, like I'm kind of looking at it now. You can really clearly see the drop shadow, but you can. What's important here is that you can see like where it's darkest on the cylinder and where it's lightest. And really important if you are going to set up something like this, that you make sure you only have one light, one source of light. Natural light often is good, but if you have like overhead light, that's not going to work well. It needs to kind of come from the side. So I've set up my imaginary light here. I'm going to shade this cylinder, and the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to think about, if I'm looking at it, I can see it, but sometimes I can't look at something. I've got to just kind of imagine. So I know that the least amount of light on this cylinder is on this far side here. So I'm going to start shading from there, and I'm going to make this side of the cylinder really nice and dark. So you can see I'm starting by making that edge where I'm doing my shading nice and thick. And now we're going to go back to that. Trying to see if yep, I've got it right here. So this is that drawing that we started with. Mine's still unfinished, but I'll show it to you finished soon enough, I promise. But this fade is what we're looking for. So I want to do that same thing, but I want to do it on this cylinder. So I'm going to start. I'm going to thicken this line up here just a little bit, so I don't have to worry about kind of going over the edge. It's all about kind of controlling my line. And I'm going to just kind of make that fade happen on this cylinder. If sometimes it's helpful to make some kind of marks. So like this is kind of the halfway mark where I know like from there over, that you can barely see it. It's a very light line that I've drawn that kind of splits this in half. From that line over, it should be relatively dark because there should be very little hitting that, little light hitting that. So I want to make sure that from this side, once I get past kind of that halfway mark, I'm going to get lighter and lighter. And you can see you have to be careful. So if you haven't made your marks, the shading marks that I have all the way across the piece, then I'm in danger of kind of overlapping here, getting two layers of graphite, which would kind of be some more work to blend in, really, is what it comes down to. So I'm going to add more layers now. I like to kind of color these lines in kind of a directional. So if I was to color them sideways, I might try to follow the curve. But when I'm going the same direction, I think that tends to make it kind of blend in a little bit better. So you can see I've kind of started shading. Now I need to continue this, but here's what's important. On this side, I want to get much lighter. And this might be where I kind of hold my pencil a little bit further back. You lose some of the control that you might like to have, but you can make a much, much lighter mark when you do that. So you can see I'm just barely making that mark. Because it's really light, it's okay if I go onto the top surface there of the cylinder. I can go back with my eraser and kind of make that go away. But now I'm just going to kind of look, because I want to be pretty detail oriented. I'm just going to look and kind of make some of this space a little bit darker. And then I'm going to use, I don't use an eraser. I try not to use an eraser too much, but in this case I'm just going to use it there on the top, and you can see that I've kind of shaded my cylinder. Now the reality is this top of the cylinder should not stay white like this, so I should give it a little bit of shading. Again, notice how far back I'm holding my pencil. The further back, the easier it is to be light in the control of the mark that you're making. So I'm just going to add that shade. I'm just kind of working to control it so that I kind of stay within my lines there. And that's just going to make it a little bit more realistic, a little bit of cleanup there. And that's a shaded cylinder. Thanks for watching.